Over the next couple of days, California could see the largest wind event in recent history. As you can see, the majority of Northern California is covered in this high wind warning, and Southern California has a red flag warning. As most Californians know, a red flag warning means there is a potential for a major wildfire. And I know what you're thinking. Why is there a wildfire threat if it's the middle of January and we're in winter? Well, that's the major question I'll hope to answer throughout this video as we look at what this threat is, where it came from in the first place, and how long it's going to last. So the first thing we'll do is just look at the basic information. This is showing the high wind warning for Northern California, where you can see the largest impacts will be around the foothills, the North Bay, and the South Bay, where we could be seeing some winds from anywhere between 35 miles per hour up to hurricane force gusts, maybe 70 miles per hour. And the timing of this event has really already started. I'm down here in the Santa Cruz Mountains and looking out my window, looks like the wind is already starting to pick up, and it's going to last through 7 p.m. Tuesday. Now the timing in Southern California is a little bit later and it'll be lasting a little bit longer, but it's actually a much larger threat in Southern California. While I am worried about the possible wind damage in Northern California, I'm a little less worried about the fire threat just because there's a lot more moisture up here. The fuels and vegetation have a higher fuel moisture content. In other words, there's more water in our plants, whereas Southern California remains extremely dry. And the winds that are forecasted are much higher. As you can see, around LA County, you get what's called Santa Anas, and these are going to be gusting 70 to 80 miles per hour, maybe even 90 miles per hour in some drainages and canyons. That's going to most likely lead to some major impacts down power lines. You could have property damage, trouble driving, and the thing that I'm most afraid about is that critical fire weather conditions that will be possible. And I like the graphic shown for San Diego when it comes to this aspect. As you can see, there's also high wind watch. That's a little tongue twister. High wind watch in Orange County, where we could get 60 to 80 miles per hour. But the graphic I want to show here is actually shown for San Diego, where it shows local gusts up to 80 miles per hour. And then it brings up the fact that there's 15 to 25% relative humidity. So that's why there's also the fire threat with these extreme winds. It's because the relative humidity is remaining low, and when the air is dry, the fine fuels and the plants get dry, and then any little spark can lead to a fire, and then when you have dry fuels and winds at 80 miles per hour, that's when you can get a rapidly spreading wildfire. So that's why we have that red flag warning in place in Southern California. And I'll just briefly say why winds are so important when it comes to fire threat. Obviously, winds are important when it comes to damage in general, just because even with no fire, it can take down trees, power lines, all that kind of stuff. But when there's fire involved, it does three things. One, it can just rapidly spread the fire, push the flames forward. Two, when there is a fire, it pushes a lot more oxygen into it, which provides one of the necessary ingredients for fire to really take off. And three, it can actually pick up burning embers, throw them miles ahead of the major blaze, and then really lead to a rapidly spreading fire. So that's why winds are so important when it comes to wildfire in the first place. So Northern California, a little more moisture, most likely, at least hopefully, I'm crossing my fingers, just going to be some wind damage there. Hopefully no fire. Southern California is where the vegetation's drier, relative humidity will be lower. Winds themselves will be in that 80 to 90 mile per hour range, possibly one of the largest wind events we've had in the last 10 years. So Southern California is the area I'm really going to be watching. Now, where did this event come from in the first place? And as it turns out, it's actually been developing over the last 24 to 48 hours. This is looking at Sunday night, and you can see this little trough developing off of Northern California. And if we click through and keep our eye on it, you can see it start to spread down into Southern California, and that was actually creating some of these offshore winds that we've seen the last couple of days. But the real damage is going to start again, Monday night through Tuesday morning, and then especially for Southern California, lasting into Tuesday evening. And the reason for it is this jet right here is going to combine with this other low pressure. So these two little systems right here combine into one, and then we have some of the strongest pressure gradients that we've seen in maybe 10 years right off the Southern California coast. So I know saying pressure gradients and strong, that sounds a little complicated. How I like to think of it is if you just had a tray, and the tray is just completely flat right here, and you poured some water on it, the water would just sit on the tray. But then if you tilted it a little bit, that water would run down the tray at a moderate pace. Then if you really tilted the tray, you have what's called a steep pressure gradient. That's when the water would flow right down the tray at extreme speeds. Basically the same thing as what's happening in the air, except we're looking at the pressure gradient of air, and instead of water, we're looking at wind. And the tighter that gradient is, the stronger those winds will be blowing off of Southern California. That's exactly what's going to be happening over the next 2 days, which is why we could be seeing 80 to 90 mile per hour gusts. So now I want to actually, before we look at the winds themselves, I'll just show that graphic again because it's pretty amazing to see these two systems combine. There you have the little one moving off of Southern California, not that major, but then it combines with this other system, creating a cutoff low, that's what that's called, and those strong pressure gradients. So if we move into the Northern California, you can see that some of these extreme winds, like I said, have already started, especially up here by Quincy, Feather River. Again, not a place where we like to see strong winds. That's where we've had the Camp Fire in the past, which, again, that was one of those fires that happened later in the season with an event that looked similar to this. I'm not saying the Camp Fire is going to happen. I'm saying when you get these offshore winds with some drier air, that's the kind of thing that can happen. You can also see that the winds are already starting to pick up in the Napa, Sonoma area, and as well as the Santa Cruz Mountains here. Now, if we click through, you can see throughout the night tonight, working into Tuesday morning, these winds actually get more extreme, possibly peaking around 1 a.m. tonight, maybe through 4 a.m., and even into Tuesday morning, you can see those extreme winds stay around those three key areas: North Bay, South Bay, and Sierra foothills, where we're going to have some gusts, maybe 70, 80 miles per hour, especially in those drainages and canyons. But before we move to Southern California, let's just look at when this is finally going to ease up. You can see even through Tuesday afternoon, these extreme winds are sticking around, and then they finally ease up as we move into Tuesday evening and into Tuesday night. Now, I want to show Southern California because it has a little bit different timing. You can see those extreme winds have already started up here in NorCal, whereas the majority of SoCal is still looking pretty calm. But as we move through, you're going to see it stays calm, 7 p.m. tonight. Still not really seeing anything for SoCal, even though the winds are extreme in NorCal. Then, remember that system moved from north to south. We're going to see the winds really just follow that exact same pattern as they spread into Southern California throughout the night tonight and really start kicking up tomorrow morning. You can see exactly what I was talking about earlier. You have that low pressure system, you have this strong pressure gradient, and then you have these winds just screaming off the coast. This is what's called the Santa Ana winds, and you can see they're going to be especially strong around this Los Angeles area where we could be 50 miles per hour. Like I said earlier, 90 miles per hour in some places. You can see throughout the day, Tuesday, as that low continues to strengthen, these winds continue to blow and stay extremely strong throughout Tuesday afternoon, even working into Tuesday evening, where we're still going to be seeing gusts 50 to 60 miles per hour, and then finally moving away around late Tuesday night to Wednesday morning. So the timing of the event in Southern California is almost shifted 6 to 8 hours later than what's going on in Northern California. So with all that, extreme winds, But then you also have the aspect of relative humidity, and that's one of the things that makes me more worried for Southern California right now than Northern California. In Northern California, we are going to have some dry air. Could be humidities in maybe 20s and 30s. Southern California could be seeing humidities in the teens. So when you mix that dry air with these extreme winds, that's when you really start to get some fire danger. And you can see this dry air just sitting over the whole Los Angeles County area while these Santa Anas are going on. So you look right here, right now, 24% relative humidity. Some of these areas, especially the higher elevations, are going to be in the teens. And you can see this dry air just stick around really over the next couple of days. We might have some brief windows where you get a little more moisture pushing in, but again, because these winds are blowing from inland offshore, they're pushing in warm, dry air. If it was the opposite, if it was winds from the ocean pushing in, that would actually be pushing moisture into the area, but as it turns out, the exact opposite is happening. So that's why this dry air remains over Southern California throughout this entire period. So with the dry air, like I said, it affects fuels. And there's a few different things that go into our fire weather danger rating systems. And one of them is humidity. Another one is drought. And you can see that the drought is still in pretty full effect in California. Northern California is actually in that extreme drought. Majority of Southern California, moderate drought to abnormally dry. And then the other thing that really we use to identify fire danger, and I think is even more important than drought, is the fuel moisture of the plants themselves. And there's really three categories. There's 1,000-hour, 100-hour, and 10-hour. 1,000-hour fuels, think of big logs or big branches. The larger fuels, which take 1,000 hours to start getting affected by the moisture in the air. And you can see that these are actually looking pretty good for Northern California. We have fuel moistures above 30% in a lot of areas, so that's great to see. But Southern California is still in that kind of moderately scary range where it's 6 to 10% throughout most of the region. Now, when it comes to the 100-hour fuels, think of a branch about the size of your wrist. So the moisture in that branch will be affected in only 100 hours versus those big logs that would take 1,000 hours to have the moisture drawn out of them or put into them. And you can see that this is showing even drier for Southern California, getting below 5%, and Northern California starting to get into that moderately dry range where we're looking at maybe 6 to 15%. Now, the scariest one, which is what you can imagine based on the trend I'm already showing, when it comes to 10-hour fuels, that's when you're looking at twigs and needles, the things that really catch on fire quickly and can rapidly spread a fire. These are extremely dry in California right now. Part of the reason for that, we haven't had a lot of rain recently. It's been above average temperatures over the last week. It's been sunny, so a lot of these fine fuels have been able to dry out. As you can see, 3 to 4% fuel moisture, maybe down to 1 to 2% for Southern California. Again, a little more moisture in NorCal, but still pretty dry. That's the main reason I'm more worried about SoCal than NorCal. In each of these three charts I just showed, you can see Southern California drier than NorCal and extremely dry in some places. So the first thing I was thinking about, I know that was just a lot of bad news. First thing I was thinking about is, all right, fine fuels, what could affect that? Some more moisture moving in. Are we going to get any rain anytime soon? So I looked at it for NorCal and SoCal, and I know I just gave the impression we were maybe going to have some good news, but no rain in the forecast for Northern California over the next few days. The next possible rain could be coming in Thursday as it moves in. Thursday night into Friday morning, we could get light rain, maybe a little snow in the northern parts of the state. Again, that's farther away in the forecast, so I'm not going to get too excited about that yet. And that's not till Thursday. This big wind event is Monday, Tuesday. Now in Southern California, this was really the area I was hoping we could be getting some rain because the low pressure system was right off the coast here, And low pressure systems are typically associated with some rain. So I was hoping for the best, and we actually could see some light rain and snow in select places early Tuesday morning, maybe spreading out a little bit into Southern California and closer to the coast as we get later into Tuesday afternoon. But again, it's extremely light rain, and the reason I'm not too excited about it yet is the moisture in the area, as you can see when we click through here, still going to be in that 10 to 20% range throughout the next couple of days. So even if we might get a little light rain, the air around it is mostly going to be dry, and with winds 80 to 90 miles per hour, we definitely got to stay on high alert over the next couple days. So as you can see, that dry air is sticking around, and there's really two reasons for that. I've briefly gone over this before, but one reason, we have relatively warm temperatures right now. You got 70 miles per hour, or 70 degrees Fahrenheit in Santa Rosa. San Francisco is 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Just unheard of for mid-January. So one, with all that warm air, you get lower relative humidities, dries out some of the fuels. But then also remember that you have those winds that are blowing from inland, so that also can lower your humidity because, again, it's not blowing from the ocean where you could push in some moisture. Same is true for Southern California, where, again, Los Angeles, 74 degrees, Riverside, 76 degrees, very warm for mid-January. Now, here's where there's finally some good news. If we look at the high temperatures for tomorrow, they're going to be significantly lower than what we're looking at today. And this is really the peak of the windstorm as we move from Monday night to Tuesday afternoon. So it's good to see that the temperatures are trending down and getting into more mild temperatures for this time of year. And then the same is true for Southern California, where while today we could be seeing 70 degrees, maybe 74 in some places, tomorrow afternoon, which is especially good to see for Southern California, because remember, the peak of the windstorm down here was later Tuesday than it was in NorCal. Temperatures will be cooling off throughout the day Tuesday. Highs for Tuesday, maybe around low 60s. Now, again, I wouldn't get too excited because it is still going to be dry and extremely windy, but that's at least one thing that appears to be working in our favor. So just to wrap it up, we'll do a quick summary of what's going on. Winds already starting in Northern California, 30 to 40 miles per hour right now, getting up to maybe 50 to 60 miles per hour as we push into tonight and early tomorrow morning. San Francisco could even be getting up to 50 mile per hour wind gusts. Areas I'm most worried about, probably the Feather River area around Quincy and Paradise, where we could be getting those winds getting 50 to 60 miles per hour. And then that's going to last throughout Monday night, through Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon, finally easing up as we get later into Tuesday night. Similar case for Southern California, but starting a little bit later, you can see those winds really start to build in around 4 a.m. on Tuesday, getting 26 to 50 miles per hour in some places, and then really strengthening throughout the day Tuesday, working into Tuesday afternoon. That's when we could start getting 80 to 90 mile per hour wind gusts. So I know I just said a lot of bad news, but the good news is it is mid-January. It's nowhere near the type of fuel conditions that we had throughout the last summer. But again, this is one of the most extreme wind events that I've ever looked at in forecast charts. So I thought it'd be important to spread this information and at least get the information out there so that people could prepare in any way that they think would help. So I'll hopefully be doing another forecast video tomorrow morning, so stay tuned for further information on this possibly historic wind event as it develops. Thanks for watching.